Hello, and welcome to Upfront and Legal, the series that helps us understand how some good advice can save a lot of grief, and money, too. On this edition, Bill Duquette of the law firm of Jacobowitz and Gubitz, Walden, Poughkeepsie, and Monticello, takes us through the first stages of home buying for potential first-time purchasers and for those who can benefit from an informative refresher course. It's quite a journey to get to your dream house. Bill Duquette, how do you begin?
Well, like with any project, you have to count the costs. Good to start off with a reality check, especially everybody hears about the subprime mortgages and failures and things like that. But people who have done a reality check and can afford it are in a good position to buy a home.
Let's start talking about dollars and cents. For example?
As an example, with a $300,000 home, 90% financing, you'll be financing about $270,000. One thing you have to decide on is when you're going to pay that $30,000. If you pay it on the signing of the contract, that money would be at risk, as opposed to if you pay it at the closing, then your money's not as much money is at risk if you don't go through with the contract. One thing we find that a lot of people aren't aware of and comes as a shock to them is all the cost involved in purchasing a house. Closing costs, your title insurance, recording fees, mortgage recording fees. For a $300,000 house will probably run you about $5,000. Getting a good attorney is another $1,000. Escrow and taxes. The bank's probably going to want you to pay those up front, and the adjustments for the seller's prepaid taxes, figure another $6,000. Your homeowner's insurance, $700. You're always going to have surprise maintenance and expenses after the fact, after you close. So in this example, we're looking at about $53,000 that you're going to need between your $30,000 down payment and these other expenses.
$53,000. That's a reality check. What comes next?
Then you have to find a lender. And the decisions there are, do you want to use your local bank where you'll have people that you know and they're going to be there the whole time, or a internet lender where you're not sure who's going to be servicing your loan in the future. There's also pre-qualification versus pre-approval. Pre-qualification is just a quick check the lender will do on you, putting in your social security numbers, checking your credit rating, whereas pre-approval means they've already approved the amount of the loan for you. Lenders will ask you to pay a rate lock fee. Well, if the interest rates haven't been increasing, then it could be a waste of money to lock in at a rate. A lot of the interest rates haven't changed in 6 or 8 months.
And don't lenders look for a certain relationship between the value of the home and the amount of the mortgage, that traditional 20%? How does a buyer handle that?
Well, you have to decide how quick is it going to take me to get that 80-20 loan-to-value ratio. And some banks offer prepaid PMI. It's $6,000 up front, but if you can add that into your financing, it may only increase your monthly payments by $50 a month. And also for first-time home buyers, there's many programs. The state of New York has programs. The U.S. government has programs to assist first-time home buyers.
What's an example of a pitfall that just might not be in a government handout?
One thing you want to watch out for is on homeowners insurance. I know in my own case that it had the incorrect start date on it, and my house would have been a day without homeowners insurance. And if a fire would have happened, we would have been out of luck there.
If the math makes sense, the potential buyer does what?
Well, once you've decided that you can afford the house, you have to find the house. One thing you have to remember is the real estate agent, while there's a lot of good ones out there, you have to be careful because they're in the business to sell homes and they get paid to sell it. They're not necessarily your friend. They're not necessarily looking out for your best interest. We had one situation where the seller was willing to pay a $10,000 repair credit, but the bank wanted 150% or $15,000 held in escrow. The real estate agent was pushing for the seller to do this, but the whole purpose of that escrow is to pay for repairs, and if there was cost overruns, it would have come out of the seller's money. Not in the seller's best interest to do that.
The hopeful buyer probably checks real estate listings. What to look for there?
When you look at the real estate listings and the multiple listing service, you have to realize that there's the written versus reality. Cute and quaint equals small. Needs work, TLC, means it's a mess. One situation, it talked about this river being just through the woods. Come to find out, it was 0.4 of a mile, and you would have had to cross 3 other people's property to get there. Another one with a water view. If you were up on the deck and looked very carefully between about 3 other houses, you could see a little bit of Orange Lake.
All that sounds important, and then there's the dream house itself.
Well, location is really important. Is it convenient for your work? Are there stores around? And you also want to be aware of the time of day. Is it on a commuting route where there'll be a lot of traffic? Is there a fire station just down the street where the fire horn's going to go off and, rattle your world? What about dogs in the neighborhood? My wife and I looked at one house where there was 2 dogs right next door, and they yapped the whole time we were there. If you have children, school district is going to be very important. What about the features of the home? How many bedrooms are you going to need? Number of baths? Does it have a garage? Does it have a basement? And basements people don't think too much about, but the added storage that you get in that can make a big difference. What's the condition of the house? Is it move-in or is it a handyman special? A lot of sellers will say, well, my house needs $30,000 worth of work, so I'm just going to drop it by $30,000 in the sales price. But is that really realistic? Are you going to do $30,000 worth of work with your own either sweat labor or to have to do that instead of the seller? No, you're going to want $50,000 or $60,000 off and make it worth your while.
All of which makes for really good advice. Other suggestions?
What about the age of the structure? Is it up to code? The wiring, does it have insulation? A lot of your older houses don't. Is there asbestos in the pipes or the siding? Is that going to have to be removed at some point, which is an added expense? Your real estate agent can help you out with the changes in the listing price. How long has it been on the market? Has it been on the market for a year? If so, why? Is the seller being unrealistic? We find some cases where the seller must find suitable housing. If that's the case, then you don't know when you're going to be able to move into your new home.
That covers major issues involving the home and the neighborhood. How about services to the building?
Well and septic versus public water and sewer. Septic systems can go. It's another big expense. Wells may have to be re-drilled as opposed to public water and sewer, where the municipality basically takes care of that. What are the utilities available? Is cable available? Wireless internet connections? Do you need that for your business? What about the heating fuel? Is it propane? Is it natural gas? Is it oil? Speaking of oil, underground storage tanks are a big issue. Matter of fact, we have an attorney in our firm who had a case where the underground storage tank was filled. Later on, he did some digging in the backyard, and they found a leak, and it was over $10,000 to get rid of the oil there.
Can we get back to the matter of adjacent homes and homeowners? How do they really figure into the home buying process?
Well access, does it have a shared driveway with a neighbor? There was just an article in the paper not too long ago about how they're going to court because one of the neighbors is blocking the other one's access over that. Who maintains it? What condition is that common driveway in? Is it a recorded easement? All things that should be taken into consideration. How close are you to a river or something that floods? If you need flood insurance, that's another added expense. And of course, if it's a condominium or homeowners association, there's going to be a lot of restrictions, additional fees. If it's a new offering, there'll be an offering plan that's been accepted for filing by the Attorney General's office. If not, you're going to want to review the bylaws and see what happens there.
So much to think about. Anything else?
What about taxes? What are the taxes on the property? You could have $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 a year extra in taxes for the property.
Even second or third time home buyers might stumble without a checklist including all of this. But first timers?
Well, many people go right to the offer, but this is a good time to find an attorney and get some advice before you make that offer. Some things you want to look for. is the attorney going to give you personal attention? Are they going to be available to speak to you, or are you going to just be speaking to their assistant all the time? How long is it going to take them to review the contract? Is it going to be a matter of hours, or are you going to have to wait weeks for that? Does the attorney actually read the contract? A lot of attorneys just send a standard writer that says something to the effect, if the main body of the contract says A, then B. It doesn't even look like they read the contract. So a lot of times you get what you pay for. There's attorneys out there who do real estate closings very inexpensively, but you have to be careful that they're going to give you the service and the attention that you need. Are they going to raise issues that you don't ask questions? They see something and they bring it to your attention to help protect your interest.
Well, with or without legal advice, the sale must be closed, if it's to be a sale.
Okay, you're going to have to make an offer on it, and you'll have to discuss this with your real estate agent, whether or not you want to have verbal negotiations or make firm written offers. Sometimes the seller will only accept written offers, but it's something you have to decide. Another thing, the state of New York requires a property condition disclosure statement to be given to a purchaser prior to signing the contract. So you'll have to check to see if that's available. Your real estate agent will be able to help you with that. Another thing that can help you is comparable properties in the neighborhood that have sold that are similar in size, and they can tell you what they've been selling for. There's websites like Zillow.com that you can go on and check these yourself. They won't be exact, but the information is there.
That web address again is Zillow, ZILLOW.com, for market value information, or USPDR.com for assessment information. Following this commercial break, a discussion on today's presentation and your opportunity to speak with Bill directly. Next week, Bill moves the process forward toward the all-important closing and tells us whether he thinks the whole exercise is worth it. If you have any questions you'd like answered about home buying, you can call Bill Duquette direct at 845-778-2121. Just tell the operator you listen to Up Front and Legal and you have a question for Bill. That's 845-778-2121. And thanks for listening.